Okay, a slightly different video to our previous ones. This one is less of a tutorial and more answering a question from Raymond Carling. He posted a question on the Showcad Facebook group asking for some advice on how to use the patch wizard. He wants to use a MIDI keyboard to control the operator GUI. He's apparently installed the keyboard, set it up as an input on Showcad, but doesn't know where to go from there. And he would like the white notes to trigger cues and use one of the knobs to scroll through the cue lists. Okay, Raymond says that he's set the MIDI keyboard up as an input on Showcad, but I will show you how to do that as well. Artist looks at MIDI devices in a similar way to DMX devices. You have the physical hardware and you have a virtual MIDI input, allowing you to repatch a new piece of hardware at a later date should you want to, without having to rewrite the entire MIDI patch. So if we look in Interface Manager and expand MIDI inputs, here is the keyboard that I'll be using. It's a PCR M30. After running the Windows new hardware detection, it's installed the drivers and it set it up as 3 devices. The MIDI in is just a relay from the 5-pin MIDI input port on the back. It allows you to use this particular keyboard as a MIDI input interface. So we're not concerned with that one. We're concerned with PCR1. So to set this up as an input in Artist, if we expand Input Output Patch and right mouse on MIDI inputs and click Properties, we say how many we want to add. In this case we want to add 1. Expand that out. We can rename this virtual input, so we shall call it PCRM30. It's useful if you've got multiple MIDI devices connected. It allows you to find them easier. So if we now right mouse button on there and click Properties, we can connect the MIDI interface using this drop down. So we want PCR1. Click OK. The red star disappears, saying that this input is now patched. So to start the patch wizard, we click on Wizards and Patch Wizard. So because we don't already have a patch file loaded, it asks us what type of input we're going to be using. We're going to be using a MIDI input, so we leave it selected on MIDI and click Next. If we now press one of the MIDI keys on the MIDI keyboard, we can now see in the MIDI message box up here the note being displayed. So if we find the first note that we want to use and click Capture, it now will display the virtual input in the MIDI input index. If you have more devices patched to virtual inputs, they would all be listed in this drop down box. And because we clicked on a white note, it knows that it's going to be a note on off value that we're looking at. Now Raymond says that he wanted to have multiple white keys controlling the multiple cues within his cue list. So we can use this this box here to select the number of notes that we're going to be talking to past the first one that we've used. So if I select this up to 10, it means that it's going to use the next 10 sequential notes as part of this MIDI patch definition. We can define the type of notes on the next page, so we click Next. At the moment it's set to all notes, so that means that from D3 it will include the notes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Raymond has said that he just wants to have the white notes, so we can click on here and select white notes. Now it will be talking to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So if we click on Next, we now are presented with the system command selection. This is where we tell Artist, when it receives these MIDI notes, what to do with them. So as Raymond says he wants these to activate his cues, we can go into Activate Cue and click Next. The action we'll leave on toggle, you can set it so it always activates, always deactivates, or is always flash. Toggle means that it will switch between activate, deactivate. Group is where we will select which cue list we want to be working with. We can set a specific cue list for it to work with. However, Raymond has said that he wants to be able to select the cue list dynamically using a rotary pot, so we'll leave that on current. That means it's going to be looking at the cue list that is currently viewable on the operator interface. Now, item is where we select which cue is going to be triggered. By selecting object 1, it means it will trigger Q1, Q2, Q3. Current means it will be the currently highlighted cue if you were to be viewing the cue list in the main window. Now, Raymond has said that he wants to have his white keys operating the different cues. Because we've said that we've got 10 sequential white keys defined, we want those 10 keys to operate 10 different cues. The way that we do this, and it catches a few people out, is that you need to press up here and select Define by Parameter. What this means is that if we were to press the first MIDI note within our selection, it will cue trigger 1. If we click on the second one, it will trigger Q2. If we were to select the third one, it will trigger Q3, etc, etc. If we now click Next, this is a summary of what's going to be patched. Click End. And if I go onto one of our cue lists, we can now see that I now have individual control over those cue lists. So that's got the white keys controlling the cues. So if we want to now get one of the rotary pots changing our cue lists, so we go back onto Patch, right mouse, Insert. We select ourselves a rotary and click Capture. It sets it up again for us, PCR M30, and this time we're sending a control change. We'll leave this as 1 as we're only defining a single control this time. Click on Next and click on Next. This time we want to display the cue lists, so we go on to Display Client and click Cue. Leave that set to current and click Next. Then click End. Now if we turn the rotary, we can see it scrolling through our cue lists. So Raymond said that he specifically wanted this to be working with the operator view. If we click Operator, you will now notice that this is all automatically linked to the operator view. And if I now select MIDI notes, they should all be controlling. So I hope that's answered your questions, Raymond. Thank you very much for posting your question in the Showcab Facebook group. Obviously, if anyone else has any questions of a similar nature, do feel free. It's what the group is there for. There are some very knowledgeable people on there, and hopefully one of us will be able to answer any questions that you may have.